Cracked Cisterns, Living Water, and the Table of God. A sermon rewritten 3 times by yours truly. If you've ever had a leaky water bottle in your backpack, you know how frustrating it is. You start the day with a bottle full of water and find out by lunchtime it's empty. And worse, everything else is soaked. In Jeremiah's day, people faced the same problem, but on a much larger scale. They dug cisterns, massive reservoirs carved into rock, lined with plaster, meant to store water for the dry seasons. But one crack, one leak, and the whole thing was useless. That's the image that Jeremiah uses in the Old Testament reading. God says, "My people have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and dug out cisterns for themselves, cracked cisterns that can hold no water." His people had turned away from what was pure and abundant and instead put their trust into things that could never hold. Instead of trusting the God who had carried them through the wilderness, they tried to secure themselves through alliances, idols, and strategies built not on faith, but on perceived necessities. It sounds harsh, but it's really familiar, isn't it? Because we do the same thing. We patch together our own cisterns, overwork, busyness, control, money, image, hoping that they'll keep us safe. But deep down, we know they leak. And fear is usually the reason. Fear of failing, fear of not having enough, fear of not being enough, fear of losing what we love. Fear convinces us to build systems we hope will hold steady, but like those ancient cisterns, they never can. That truth has felt especially heavy this week after hearing about the tragic shooting at a Catholic school. Schools should be places of joy, not fear. Families should be packing lunches, not planning funerals. It is heartbreaking. And yet, in the face of such fear, Jeremiah's reminder still speaks. The cracked cisterns of anger, numbness, and despair will never hold. Only God's fountain of living water can. Only Christ can give peace that does not run dry. Our psalm picks up with the same longing. Oh, that my people would listen to me. God desires to feed us with the finest wheat and honey from the rock. That's a reminder that God is not stingy. God's fountain isn't a trickle. It's an abundance waiting for us. I've learned this lesson the hard way. Well, I think I've learned it the hard way multiple times, and if I'm honest, I'm still learning it again right now. These first 3 weeks of school have been some of the hardest. I've left work every day angry and frustrated, angry that the lists of things required of me keep growing, that there are so many messes to clean up, so many responsibilities I can't possibly get done in the time that I have, and frustrated that the things I truly love to do have to take a backseat. My self-imposed desire to be practically perfect at my job has become one of those cisterns I've built. Some of it comes from wanting to prove that I'm valued and necessary for the district. Some of it comes from wanting to prove to others that I can do the job well, even when they believe they can do it better. And some of it is just plain stubbornness, proving to myself that I'm still capable of learning hard things. But like all cisterns, this one leaks too. Instead of leaving me satisfied, it leaves me tired and dry. And when I dig deep, I can see that it's based on fear. And that's the truth about every cracked cistern we build. They promise control, but they don't deliver peace. They may hold for a moment, but sooner or later, they crack. What I need isn't more patching. What I need is the fountain, to let go, to drink deeply of God's living water, and to trust that everything really can be okay. This is why the words from Hebrews speaks so powerfully today. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Everything else shifts. Governments shift, economies shift, politics shift, our workloads shift, our expectations shift, our circumstances shift. But Christ is steady. Christ is living water. And when we drink from that fountain, fear begins to lose its grip. Which brings us to the gospel, where Jesus redefines what tables are for. At a Pharisee's banquet, he sees guests scrambling for the best seats. Fear drives it all. Fear of being overlooked, fear of losing face. The host only invites those who can repay, afraid of wasting resources. But Jesus says, stop, sit at the low place, and invite the ones who cannot repay. The table of God is not transactional, it's transformational. And honestly, I've seen both sides of what Jesus is talking about. In my role as city councilman, I've had people reach out to me with invitations that were not about friendship at all, but about getting something in return. A cup of coffee to chat about a city ordinance they didn't like and wanted to see changed. A dinner invitation to pitch a development plan. Luckily, I've had enough training to know how to politely turn those down, but they've opened my eyes to how often our relationships can become transactional. How easy it is to build cisterns that look sturdy, but don't really hold water. These last 4 years have been a blessing to serve my community, but they've also shown me how many cisterns we build as a society, chasing influence, power, and repayment. But I've also seen glimpses of the kind of table that Jesus describes. At the end of our theater season, when the cast party finally arrives, the students who were stars and the students who work backstage sit side by side. The crew, the ensemble, the leads, all of them sharing pizza, laughing, and making TikToks. For that night, status doesn't matter. Everyone belongs. No one sits alone. And I've experienced it here at church too. For years, I avoided coffee hour, worried that I wouldn't fit in. But when I finally stayed, when I finally found that I was able to go, I realized it was simply people being people. Priests laughing, parishioners joking, newcomers welcomed, no scorekeeping, no status, just joy. And every time I witness it, I think, this is what Jesus meant. When you put Jeremiah and Jesus together, the message is clear. Fear builds cisterns that crack. Faith drinks from the fountain. Fear makes tables about status and repayment. Faith makes them about humility and grace. And here's the grace for us. We don't just hear about this fountain and this table. We come to it. Every Sunday, Christ offers himself as living water. Every Sunday, he invites us, not because we earned it, not because we can repay it, but because love has made room for us. And if I'm honest, that's the reminder that I need now more than anything. Because I'm still tempted to pour myself into cracked cisterns, trying to be practically perfect, trying to prove my worth through endless work, trying to control outcomes that are too big for me. But this table, this fountain, reminds me that I don't have to. Christ is steady with everything else, or Christ is steady when everything else shifts. Christ is the water that truly satisfies. So let us leave here today ready to go, or ready to let go of fear. Let us stop patching cracked cisterns. Let us drink deeply from the fountain of Christ, and let us set tables so wide and so generous that fear has no seat and that grace has every chair. Amen.
Amen.